Welcome back to this series on War of the Ring. In celebration of surpassing our Kickstarter goal for this series, we'll be doing an overview of the second expansion for War of the Ring, Warriors of Middle-earth. We'll also be doing a rules video for the expansion later in the series. This is a freshly opened copy of the expansion, so let's dive in. In the left portion of the insert, we have the bagged units. Once we take the rulebook and reference sheet off the right side, we expose the cards. Warriors of Middle-earth adds 6 new factions to the game, and this requires a little learning with this 27-page mini rulebook. We'll be going through all the rules for this expansion at the end of the series. The expansion also comes with 2 reference booklets that players may use during their playthroughs. So, what do we have? We've got lots of minis, both Shadow and Free Peoples. Each side will gain 3 new factions in this expansion, with a grand total of 48 miniatures. The expansion also gives new event cards, call to battle cards, and even faction event cards. 2 new faction dice are also added to the game, one for the Free Peoples and the other is for the Shadow. Let's talk about the 3 new factions added to the Shadow player side. First, the Corsairs of Umbar. These units will be recruited in Umbar, and are able to transport units along coastal areas in the Anduin. Second, the Hillmen of Dunland. These units are not actually considered Shadow Army units. They act as normal Shadow units only when combined with the Shadow Army. Third, the Broods of Shelob. These 8-legged web hurlers are able to enter play in Dol Guldur and Minas Morgul. This faction acts similarly to the Hillmen of Dunland. They are not considered Shadow Army units, but they can move with the Shadow Armies. The backs of the reference cards give rules pertaining to the factions. Next up, we'll take a look at the new Free Peoples factions. First, the Eagles of the Misty Mountains. These valiant creatures begin in the Eagle's Eyrie. They may be called into play if the last known position of the Fellowship is not Rivendell, or if Gandalf the White is in play. Next, the Deadman of Dan Haro. This faction comes into play when Aragorn or Strider is in or within one region of Eric. The Deadmen always stay together, forming the Army of the Dead, and have special movement and combat rules. The final faction in the expansion, the Ents of Fangorn. The Ents require at least one Ent in Fangorn at all times, along with a companion in order to form the Entwood. They also have special conditions surrounding Saruman and Orthanc. These are the faction dice. When one of the factions enters play, the player adds this faction die to their pool. These dice allow player to take actions with their factions. New event cards are also included in the expansion, which allow players to use their factions effectively. 2 new decks, the faction event cards, will form an entirely new deck for each player. These may allow special recruitments when certain requirements have been filled, or in the case of the Eagles, help in destroying the dreaded Nazgul. The expansion also includes a replacement Treebeard card for those with the Treebeard expansion. Finally, let's not neglect to mention the insert. The insert fits everything perfectly, which is always a plus in my book. This concludes our overview of the Warriors of Middle-earth expansion. We will go over the setup and full rules in a later video. Thanks for watching.